Oh, what happened?
I think it's recording now, and it's 1 o'clock.
And I see that it is recording, so we'll begin the meeting. And I see Jack's back on. Okay, good. Any public comment before we begin? And if there's none, then I'm going to ask for approval of the board meeting minutes of November. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I so move.
Linda, thank you. Second. And I see Nancy. So all in favor of approving the minutes from November 16? I see, okay. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you. We'll move on to the treasurer's report, November and December.
Okay. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. At the beginning of November, we started off with a balance of $2,640,955.
Muted.
We had receipts of $82,638, and we ended the month of November with $2,723,592.93. The only thing out of the ordinary as far as receipts, it's really not out of the ordinary, but not on a regular basis, is we did get the final 10% of the adult literacy grants and also the last 10% of the CARES Act funding during the month of November. And then for the month of December, we started off the month with the amount that we ended November with of $2,288,018.61. We had receipts of $187,351, and we ended up the month of December with $2,475,370. And the out of the ordinary receipts for the month was $105,000 in the grant and aid that was received in the month of December. Also, I'll remind you that in your packets were the warrants for both November and December for you to peruse at your leisure. And that's the end of my reports, unless you have questions or comments.
If there are no questions or comments, then I'll ask somebody to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for Russ. I see you're raising your hand, and Margaret seconding. So all in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you. Okay.
Unmuted.
Thank you. We'll move on then to the director's report.
Thank you, Jordan. I just want to remind everyone that we sent out another agenda this morning around 11 a.m. from Pamela, and it's been revised. Now that Pamela is working with me, hopefully next month's agenda will be perfect on the first go-round. I'd like to introduce you all to Pamela Del Signer. Pamela, help me with your name. I practiced it. Del Signor and Colleen Smith. Pamela will be working closely with you. She'll be sending out the board packets. She's taking minutes. She'll help oversee the trustee challenge grants. She's taken on delivery as well as some other duties. She will be the voice when you hit 0, and she'll be sitting, if you can see her picture, she's in front of that piece of art at the front of the building. Colleen Smith is here as well, and Colleen, who has taken over all of the financial and HR duties, and I really want everyone to do an awe. Poor Colleen, she's been here less than 2 months, and this week the auditors are coming to review last year. So we're very appreciative that she's here. Believe it or not, even though we just had our first snowstorm, it's time to think about the SALS annual dinner. We'll have to decide whether we want it virtually or face-to-face. I'll be reaching out to the Marriott in Saratoga Springs. They've been very kind, and they've been letting us roll it over every year. So maybe this year we'll get to see each other. Deborah Codwell-Stone, I think you saw, I mentioned her in my written report. She's agreed to be our speaker, whether we do it virtually or face to face. And she's been getting a lot of publicity lately, unfortunately, due to all of the challenges that are happening throughout the country. We're in the process of learning a new phone system, and I'm now available to you all through my computer, through my cell phone. I'm just here for you 24/7. And when I'm sitting at my desk at work, I'm available at my desk phone. And it's a very strange phone. It's a voice over internet protocol, so there's no dial tone, and you don't dial 8 or anything, so that's going to take some getting used to. There have been some burps with delivery. One driver was out for 2 weeks. He's back, and everything is going back to normal. We really appreciated the tolerance and kindness shown to us by the member libraries. They didn't complain that deliveries were a little later. And I really want to thank Jill Ryder for all that she did to oversee what was going on. And I think Jill is very excited that Pamela is here, because she handed it all over to Pam. Speaking of which, we had a little key debacle a few months ago, and Arnoff has reimbursed all of the libraries that had to change their locks. The executive order regarding the open meeting law to hold virtual meetings has been extended. It looks like it's not going to be extended month to month or every other few months. We're just going to assume that the executive order is in place and we can do virtual meetings. We received our grant in aid from Assembly members Warner and Simpson. Assembly member Warner was $80,000 that will be dispersed among the member libraries once we get the official documentation of how much goes to which libraries. And of course, they're for the libraries in her district. Assemblyman Simpson has made a grant in aid to SALS, and we can use it in our discretion. Oh, let's see. The Division of Library Development had a few questions about the state construction applications that you approved in September, and I reached out to all the member libraries that had questions, and the Library of Development said, wow, we were the first system to get everything answered. So any holdup in letting people know, or the awarding of the grants, isn't on SAL's shoulders. So I'm excited about that. Carol approached me a few weeks ago asking why Washington County doesn't give any county aid. And I thought perhaps a conversation among Bob Jeffords, and other Washington County trustees can be set up so we can discuss why and how to move forward to try to see if we can request some funding to support the libraries in Washington County. Mark your calendars. March 2nd is Advocacy Day, and we'll begin to schedule appointments very shortly. And just for you for your information, I'll also be involved with the virtual ALA Advocacy Day, which is on March 2nd. I'm almost done, I promise. I'm very sad to report that the governor vetoed the ebook legislation that was approved by both the Assembly and the Senate. She gave a reason, and I don't think it's valid, and I think work is going to be done in order to try again. I sit on a task force to update the language in commissioners' regulations regarding the central library. The regulations, the commissioner regs are so old, and they really do need, in my opinion, a complete overhaul, but I'm not sure that would take longer and make it more difficult. So we're going to do a Band-Aid and make it reflect what's happening in the world today with all of the technology. Later on in the meeting, I'm going to ask you to approve Erica and my conference requests to attend the Public Library Association National Conference virtually and the ALA annual in June. And as of today, it's face-to-face in DC, but that could change due to what's going on with COVID. The JA Council met last week, and I've asked Michelle to touch upon a little bit of what JA does and on what was discussed during the meeting last week. And I'm also going to ask you to consider, of all the libraries involved, one library is having trouble coming up with the funds to take on the complete telecommunication charges. And there is money in the SALS budget under technology to allow us to help pay with the telecommunication fees for this year, 2022, with the understanding that they need to add those fees and that expense to their 2023 budget, because, in my opinion, broadband is the same as electricity, water, heat, and that. And that's the end of my verbal report. Do you have any questions of me?
I do, Sarah. When do we have to make the decision about the May meeting?
I have to call, or Pamela has to call the Marriott to see what terms they need.
Okay.
But
Just,
I think it'll be within the next few months.
okay. Well, that gives us a little time in terms of seeing what happens with COVID.
I read in the paper it's cresting today.
Oh, well.
Well, what's the letter after Omicron?
I don't know, but I hope we don't reach Omega. I mean, that would be, we'd have to start all over. The other is welcome, Colleen. Can I ask which library is it? Racket Lake?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is Racket Lake, Jordan.
Okay.
All the other libraries have told me that they would absorb the costs.
Okay, so but we're talking about just for 2022, and then they're budgeting so that they can cover that.
This happened late in the calendar year, this change. So I just thought we should be a little bit gracious to give a window, because it wasn't a known expense until the end of December. With no more questions, and I'll be available the whole meeting. Michelle, do you want to jump in?
Sure. So Sarah asked me to give some background on the Joint Automation Project and some of the things we're doing. We provide services to the member libraries of the SALS system, but also of the Mohawk Valley Library System, and they serve libraries in Schenectady, Schoharie, Fulton, and Montgomery counties. There are 58 remote sites, including the MVLS Service Center. And I believe we're the only shared automation system in the state, maybe in the country, I'm not sure. So there's a joint automation council, which is the governing board for JA, but all budgets, policies, and things have to be approved by the two system boards. We have 6 JA employees. We had a new employee, Jim Baker, started today as our new computer support specialist. So there are 6 employees. We are SALS employees, and we follow SALS personnel rules. Our offices are here at SALS, although some of us work part-time due to the new sort of hybrid system that we have. I work 1 day a week also at Mohawk Valley Library System, and Mohawk Valley does the financials and the accounting for JA. SALS manages the personnel, houses the staff, servers, and equipment. Our main service is the Polaris ILS, and ILS stands for Integrated Library System. Several years ago, we moved from on-site servers that were here at SALS to a hosted platform, and this allows the JA staff to be more efficient. The hosting site maintains the servers and the day-to-day and the security, and it provides more time for us to work with member libraries and provides really better network security because the hosted sites, the hosted site has much more resources than we do. So the ILS tracks how member libraries, member libraries track patrons, bib records, holdings, requests. There's a lot of different modules that help the libraries and provide services to their patrons. It's a shared database by both systems, and that's how we're able to provide materials from all libraries in 8 counties to any patron in those 8 counties. So through the request system and the delivery, any patron can have access to most everything in all different libraries, and that's a wonderful service that everyone enjoys. So the staff manages the Polaris system. We also offer email to all library staff through Office 365 and OneDrive, which is cloud-based file storage, kind of similar to Google Drive if you're used to that. And we provide that to all the staff at all the member libraries. We assist the libraries with their internet connections, their wired networks, their wireless networks, and all of their security. We provide IT support for their PCs, their networks, and if they have them, servers. We do group PC orders several times a year, and we configure these PCs and set them up. We have standard configurations for staff and public PCs. The public PCs have a lockdown on them so that when a new patron comes in and sits down at a public computer, they can't see any of the history or anything that the previous patron did. So that's very, very important. Some of our sites have software called Cassie, which is how they manage their public PCs and their public printing. So Cassie is a time management system. So for example, a library might allow a patron 1 hour a day on the computer. Cassie keeps track of that, tells them when their time is up and when the next person can use the system. We have about 16 sites that use Cassie. And we also provide web hosting for the libraries that choose to participate through GoDaddy, and we manage that for them. Some of the projects that we're currently working on, we have a new patron self-registration option that we're hoping to roll out very soon. So patrons will be able to go on the library online catalog, sign up for a library card through that pack, and get a temporary number that they can use to place holds or maybe use Overdrive, and then they can go to their library and complete registration to get full services. We're hoping to have that out sometime. I think we're shooting for like the end of February. We're also assisting with the installation and configuration of the new voice over IP phone system at SALS that Sarah mentioned. We're working with member libraries to increase bandwidth. We're currently setting up and deploying the PCs from the latest group order and working on announcing the next one. We're investigating cybersecurity insurance and phishing training for staff. And we're planning the next Polaris upgrade. So those are some of the things we're currently doing. Our budget is supported by funds from the two system boards, as you know, and also through member library fees. So the fees are based on a formula which looks at what income the project needs for the year, and then it divides it up based on kind of relative size of the libraries. So I wanted to mention, so the JA Council meets every 2 months, and we have representatives from both systems, from the central libraries and the member libraries, and we have one, what we call an unaffiliated member, who's currently Carrie Keiki from CDLC. And in December, every year, we have an annual fees meeting. And this past December, we discussed changes to the 2022 fees and also fee recommendations for 2023. So normally we would, so in the end of 2021, we would make recommendations for the 2023 fees, but we also had some discussion about changes for the 2022 fees. So some of the changes that, one of the big changes that we discussed for 2022 has to do with how the library telecommunication fees are paid, which Sarah touched on. So many, many years ago, JA had dedicated connections for JA to provide services for all the libraries, and JA paid for all of those fees. And then over the years, our services and our technology have changed and evolved, and we've gone away from dedicated lines, and now everyone gets to our services through a regular internet connection or multiple internet connections. Some libraries, the larger ones, might have a separate connection for their public computers and their staff computers, that kind of thing. So as things have changed, we had a lot of libraries that were using free Spectrum, Time Warner Spectrum internet connections. And in a lot of cases, they wanted to provide better bandwidth. And so the libraries chose to upgrade that to a bigger line, and they were paying for it. So the place we're in right now is that there's really no rhyme or reason to what JA pays for and what JA doesn't pay for telecommunications, because there's a real mix. So we have currently 16 sites across the two systems where JA pays part or all of the internet connections. So looking at that situation, the JA Council has wanted to rectify that and make it more uniform. And we looked at our current surplus that we had, and the recommendation was made that we do an across the board 8% fee reduction for 2022 for all libraries, and at the same time have those 16 sites start taking on their own telecommunication costs. The two system directors have spoken to all of the libraries, and they've worked through this. So this is one of the things that is going to be one of the budget changes to be approved later in the meeting. And assuming this gets approved, then JA staff will work with each one of these libraries to either change the billing or maybe change their internet connections if we can come up with any third, maybe a better option available to them. So we'll work with each site. They won't be alone on it. We'll make sure they get this change and that they get ordered what they need. And we will continue to support their telecommunication network and security stuff, just like we always do. In addition to that change, there were some other amendments that have come up. So there's several amendments for the 2022. One has to do with this, decrease the income for the fees and decrease the telecommunications costs. We also have an amendment that increases utilities, insurance, and generator maintenance, just because we found by the end of 2021 that the utilities and insurance expenses were higher than expected. And generator maintenance, we need to replace a battery, which was something that came up at the end of the year, what we'll do this year. We're going to propose that we decrease the equipment and hardware maintenance lines in order to balance the budget from those other changes. And then we had one other thing that happened, which was that the December 2021 payment from JA to SALS to cover salaries, benefits, and insurance the timing on it came after the end of the year, so it actually is getting paid in 2023. So we wanted to do a budget amendment to cover that, and that would actually create a deficit of $66,838 that would have already been paid had it been paid in December. So that would be a deficit.
Michelle, it's for 2022, not 2023.
I'm sorry. This is all 2022. I apologize. Yes, my brain's saying the wrong number. Sorry. So yes, all for 2022. And then lastly, there was a recommendation for 2023 fees, which is to increase the fees by 3%, and then to cover just normal increases in expenses. I'm sorry, if there's any questions about any of that, please ask.
If there are no questions, then thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Sarah.
Russ, did you want to add anything?
Russ, you're muted. Russ, you're muted.
No, just that all these proposals will come up under new business.
Right. I see we have a lot of things to talk about under and approve under new business. Thank you. Thank you. Then we'll move on if there's nothing else. Thank you. And we'll go to committee reports. And Russ, is there anything from audit and finance?
No.
Thank you. Under next is buildings. Christine, anything? Also, Christine. Thank you.
I know, I'm trying to unmute.
Oh, okay. Well, you did.
No, nothing there.
Thank you. Bylaws. Again, Russ. You're muted again.
Just a reminder that it's the beginning of the year. We'll be looking at the policies and procedures. Just look them over. If there's anything that you think needs to be done, get back to me or get back to Sarah, and we'll be bringing up any changes that are necessary at upcoming meetings.
Russ, we're looking at the bylaws, not policies and procedures. Just an FYI.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Central Library Aid and Services, Margaret. Anything? Okay, thank you. County aid coordinators. Nancy, nothing? Thank you. Library services.
Nothing.
Thank you. Personnel, Linda.
Just an official welcome to Pamela and Colleen from the board. We're so happy to have you guys on board with us. We wish you our very best, and we're all very eager to meet you in person when COVID allows us to. So welcome aboard, and nice to have you with us. Thank you for accepting our offer of employment. That's it, Russ.
Thank you, Linda. And trustee, oh, that's okay. Trustee nominating, Elaine.
Yes. First of all, if you hear background, it's me. I'm having a new deck put on, and I'll mute as soon as I can. Let's see. We have 2 openings because we're losing both Bob and Nancy, and we thank them both for their services. So we have put out kind of like a call to the libraries in Washington County and Hamilton County. If anyone is interested, that they can contact either Sarah or myself, and we'll follow the next procedures. That's it.
Thank you. Any unfinished business? If there is none, then we'll move on to new business. And again, there's several things, and I think some of the items need to be voted on separately. But we'll begin with new business to reappoint Alex Gutelius, am I pronouncing that correctly, to JA Council. Would somebody like to make that motion? Russ? And somebody second it. I see Bob and Janet. All in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you. We'll move on, and I think this is really 2 separate motions, unless I'm wrong. But, first, for JA to decrease 2022 JA fees by 8% to a fee budget of $667,971. And I think that was discussed a bit. So does anybody have any questions before we? Okay, then can somebody make the motion to approve that? Russ again, and somebody second that? Margaret, all in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you. And next, to standardize payment of library telecommunications invoices so that all are paid by the library and not by JA. Russ, are you making the motion? Thank you. Somebody second that motion. Bob, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Thank you. We will move on to item C, and that's and this is one item. It's to set 2023 JA fees at a 3% increase over 2022, bringing the JA fees budget amount to $688,010 in 2023. Russ, you're making the motion. Is there a second to that motion? A lot of seconds. Janet, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Janet, are you opposing? Was your hand up to oppose?
No, I had a time lag somehow.
Oh, okay, yes, I can see that actually as you're speaking. There is a time lag. So there are no opposed. Any abstentions? Thank you. And now this again looks like two separate things to approve. So to amend the 2022 JA budget by decreasing the fee income line from $726,055 to $667,971. Okay, Russ, I see your hand up. So anybody, is there a second to that motion? Bob, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Thank you. And the second part of that is to decrease the telecommunications expense line from $43,000 to $18,468. Russ, you're there first. Is there a second to that motion? Bob, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. And again, there are two items here under E, to amend the approved JA budget to reflect the final 2021 salaries and benefits invoices not being paid until January 2022. And Russ, again, your hand is up first. Is there somebody to second that, Bob? Your hand is up again. All in favor? Are there any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Thank you. And the next part of that is increasing the salaries line from $477,692. I'm sorry, yes. I'm just reading this again. Increasing the salaries line from $477,692 to $526,724. Russ, you're making the motion. Second. Margaret, you're seconding. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, thank you. And the third part of that is to increase the benefits line from $193,362 to $209,763. Russ, again, your hand is up. Bob, you're seconding. All in favor? Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? And I should say, if anybody has any questions as we do any of these, please state. Russ, you have
I
something?
just wanted to explain briefly that the budget amendment in particular, the others you know about because they were discussed at the open meeting about the fees and the change in telecommunications to be paid by the library. But the budget amendments we had a very strange year, and we're just trying to bring the expected costs for this coming year back into perspective and into a more realistic levels. We see some increases on the personnel side, and they've been balanced by decreasing some of the non-personnel expenses. And finally, that one item that's probably the most interesting is the item about expenses not being paid till January. And this is something that's happened every year. So we decided for 1 year to reflect when it's actually being paid, even though it's for the prior year. And then future years will reflect that January payment. It somehow never really quite get paid in December, even though it's for the previous year. So that's a quick explanation of the reasoning behind this.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
one final thing, all of these changes, the JA budget remains balanced after all of these changes have been made.
Thank you, Russ, for the explanation. That does make it clearer. We will move on to item F, and that's to approve the appointment of Pamela Del Signor. Thank you. Bob makes the motion, and Linda is seconding it. All in favor? Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item G, and that's the corporate resolution to authorize agents at Adirondack Trust Company. Yes, Bob.
Jordan, maybe a little explanation would
I would appreciate it.
be in order here. What's happened here is with the hiring of Colleen and the resigning of Diane, we need to cancel Diane's Visa card and add Colleen on with a Visa holder. I sent what Adirondack Trust our Visa account is attached to Adirondack Trust. I sent the required paperwork to Adirondack Trust, and they came back and said that Roger, who was the treasurer and in fact has passed on at this point, he retired and has since passed on, was the only one that was authorized to borrow money from Adirondack Trust. I don't agree with that because I believe every June we have passed a corporate resolution authorizing borrowing, but they required that we pass another corporate resolution authorizing the officers, Jordan, Russ, myself, and Janet, be authorized to borrow money. That means any one of us could authorize adding Colleen onto the Visa card. So that's why we need to do this corporate resolution. I don't know what Adirondack Trust did with the corporate resolution that we did in June, but in any event, to make a long story short, we'll just do another one and get this over and done with.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that before I ask for somebody to make the motion? All right, then would somebody please make the motion? Thank you, Bob, and Christine, thank you for seconding. All in favor? And any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Thank you all. And the final motion, Sarah, are these two separate events?
Yes, one is the Public Library Association virtual conference that's happening in March. And we're requesting virtual only. And then the other is the ALA annual meeting, which is in June. And we're not sure if that's virtual or face-to-face at this time. So yeah, it's two different conferences.
So let's then ask for two motions. And so the first would be the PLA virtual for Erica and Sarah in March. Would somebody like to make that motion? Janet, thank you. Linda, thank you for seconding. All in favor? Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Thank you. And the second is the ALA annual conference in June in Washington, D.C. Perhaps it could wind up being virtual, and that's also for Erica and Sarah to attend. Would somebody like to make that motion? Margaret, thank you. Would somebody second it? And Russ, thank you. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Okay, thank you. And we are done with things that have to be voted on. Any director's council report? No. And are there any announcements? And then if there is nothing else, is there, yes, nothing?
Jordan?
Bob, yes.
Just one more thing on the corporate resolution. Between Colleen and myself, it requires the signature of the secretary attesting to the resolution and also the signatures of each of the officers. So we'll start the form out and we'll get it passed around, through email for everybody to sign where they need to sign, and then we can go forward with getting the card issued. Because that works out for everybody.
Well, through email, you mean I can mail it in though once it's sent to me?
Yes, you can.
I don't have faxing ability.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Or you could, I don't know if you have scanning ability. You can scan it and then attach it to an email and send it.
I'll give that a try again. I've never.
Okay. Either way, it's fine.
Yeah, fine. Thank you. If there's nothing else, then somebody like to make a motion to close the meeting? Oh, how nice. Nobody wants to make the motion. Oh, Margaret, thank you. And would somebody second that motion? Okay, Carol, thank you. Then all in favor of calling this meeting closed? Are there any opposed to closing the meeting? Are there any abstentions? Well, then, thank you, and I guess looks like we'll be meeting virtually again in February. Hopefully, very soon we'll be able to meet again in person because this is not nice. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. I'm going to go and build a bookcase.
Thanks, everybody. It was great to see you even virtually.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Colleen and, they have already left.
No, I'm here still.
Okay, Colleen and Pamela, if you could stay on just for 2 seconds, and Erica and Jack.
Sarah, I don't know. I think you might have started the recording, so you need to stop it.
Oh.